Hey, it's your boy, Sergeant Hooked on Henships. So I am talking about today is another Marvel video. And I am talking about today the Miss Marvel Disney Plus show. If you didn't know, Miss Marvel was a comic they did within the last few years or so. I can't remember exactly when her issues debuted or whatever. Her name is Kamala Khan. She's a Pakistani Muslim character, of that descent, and she's a huge, gigantic fan stan, whatever you want to call it, of Captain Marvel, of Carol Danvers. And in the comics, what they do, and spoilers for the comics and for the show, it's a whole series review. I just got to kind of get you into it. What they do is her powers are like stretching and stuff, and beginning, if you will, and which is similar to Mr. Fantastic, but she just does things a little different. And so, because teenagers sometimes have problems with their like self-image and everything, she idolizes Carol so much she subconsciously makes herself basically look exactly like her until Carol comes and talks to her and confronts her about it, and then she backs down and realizes that she's her own person, blah blah blah, and then gets given the title by Carol and whatever. Pretty much, I don't know for sure if that's how it happens, but I think so. So that's how she is in the comics, and she's actually an Inhuman, meaning through Terrigenesis, these like mystical rock formation things released a cloud that mutated her forcibly into an Inhuman. In the Disney Plus show, the Inhuman show was dog shit. Lasted one episode, got canceled. I've only ever seen Black, Black Bolt, I think is his name. Um, uh, he was in, yeah, Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange 2. And that is it. There's really no other reference or talk about anything from the Inhumans at all. So she's not, as far as we know, one in this. They call her a Jinn in her family lineage, Jinn, like genies or demons, whatever. Um, and her powers come from this bangle that creates like energy projections that are. Some people said it was too much like Green Lantern. It was kind of different to me. It looked more like hard light projections or creations, kind of like how the shield and like sword thing look like in Mass Effect, like that kind of stuff, the biotic stuff. Anyway, so the embiggening stuff comes from that. She can create like hard light constructs that look like the giant fist and make her big, and she can walk on the. It's kind of cool. She has this thing where she can like create platforms under her feet and basically fly. Um, and so yeah, that's her thing in this. It's a bangle that's connected to her culture, to her lineage as a Pakistani Arab descent Muslim woman, and it's connected to her family and like deeply written into that. As is all of the Muslim heritage stuff is really good in the show. That's one of the things I really liked about it was that yeah, we may not have had the exact thing of the arc in the comics where she was a teenager and had these self-image problems, got the powers, made herself look like Carol Danvers, blah blah blah. But there's still a lot of hurt in this show. Some people try to throw jabs at it like, oh, it's just like a Disney Channel original movie or a Disney Channel show or a teen drama. Well, yeah, she's a teen. Like, what were you expecting her to just be a teen and then just treat everything like an adult for some reason? So I think what I like the most about it is she's so the actress who plays her is so like absolutely electric in the role and does such a good job. She definitely embodies what we all feel watching these movies, the wonder and the awe and excitement of seeing these heroes do things. And I like that in the show we get things like that. We have a straight Avengers con, and it's like straight has merch in it of like, you know, costumes and jackets. Someone has a pin that's like you'll always be our ass, and it's Captain America with his butt turned or whatever. Um, and just things like that. And it's cool because it's like kind of translating how we kind of like hero worship the Marvel heroes in our universe or in the real world to how it would be portrayed within the Marvel universe. And I really like that. And I like that she never loses that wonder and excitement about stuff when she starts encountering things that are super heroic, if you will. It never bonks her down too much. She's always kind of awkward and clumsy, but that starts to kind of fall away the closer we get near the end, the closer we get to the climax, her getting her new suit and starting to like fight more and stuff like that and get used to her powers. Um, so yeah, she does a really good job in the role. The actress is absolutely amazing. Um, Everyone else is honestly pretty good as well. Her supporting family cast is great. I love the friends that they put into it. The one female friend of hers, I forget her name, that was running for like a position at their like mosque. I wasn't the biggest fan of, only because you don't spend a lot of time with her. I like her arc of wanting to like have a role in their religion or whatever, in their church, and that being a female, it's harder for that to happen. I love that whole little arc for her. But then, not soon after that, Kamala goes on this trip, um, and to go see her grandma, and then we just kind of like leave the friend behind, and then we don't see her till near the end of the show. So, especially after the big bombshell, we're seeing that Kamala has powers too. Iman Vellani, that's her name. Iman. Iman is amazing. If you're watching this somehow, Iman, we love you. You're great in the role. Oh my gosh, and she's so endearing to Iman. She like has like a straight like personal text conversation with Kevin Feige where she talks about things with the Marvel Universe, and you know, is able to like tell him certain things, and he's able to tell her certain things, and she's, you know, like up on her stuff. She actually herself is a fan of Captain Marvel, and herself made her own costume at one point, so of course she was picked to be Miss Marvel. I think that's beautiful. The show was written and produced and directed by entirely uh, Muslim or Arabic or Pakistani descent directors. Many of those actors within the show as well. There's not many white people at all, honestly, in the show, and I kind of like that. I like how they blend the cultural pieces in there as well. The different like family things, you know, like the different names for people, like calling dad Abu and Ami for mom, and you know, Beta is like a honey kind of thing, like a sweetheart type of pet name for a kid, and how that's all used throughout the show. And I like that she, for once, she doesn't have to have like this established here. Like we didn't have Carol Danvers come in and it be the Carol and like the Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel show. We're getting that. It's going to be called The Marvels. I think it's a show or a movie, one of the two. But what I like is that they didn't like back down and just repeat what they did kind of with MCU Spider-Man, where he was like, some people say Iron Boy Jr., where he had too much mentorship by um, Tony, which I agree and disagree with. I'm kind of in the middle. Um, we didn't do that. She kind of stood on her own, had to figure it out on her own, and I like that. She stumbled a lot. She made mistakes. I mean, there was a straight episode, in episode like 3 or something like that, where she saves this kid from falling, gets down a little bit farther, nearly gets him down, and then she loses focus for a second because she gets like a vision of the like family lineage past that's connected to the bangle and the powers, and she loses grip of him, and he falls and breaks a leg. Like, I kind of like that. I like that she fucked up and messed up. I like that's cool, and I like that she's like a loser and a dork. You know, she's not like this like perfect specimen who's like, oh, I'm like, you know, super crazy, like beautiful. Well, she is beautiful, beautiful actress. She's an awesome actress. But I'm crazy, beautiful, and smart, and I know how to talk, and I have such, you know, blah 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 blah, like all these perfect things. No, she's a big dork, and I like that. I think that was a really good, you know, thing on their part to choose somebody who's so unabashedly passionate and dorky about this character and about the Marvel Universe to play this character. Um, so she's like the star of the show, and everyone else around her is decent. I'm not the biggest fan of the clandestine or whatever. Um, I get that they come from this other dimension. They're trying to break through. The energy between the veil is this Nora energy, and that's what she uses for her powers and blah blah blah. But they don't get to do, again, they kind of get sort of left-ish behind and randomly pop up whenever it feels convenient. Honestly, Damage Control is more of a villain to her than it is than the clandestine are. Damage Control, if you don't remember, were the group that met up with Peter in No Way Home that were trying to grill him for information and telling him how, you know, he's in trouble and blah blah blah, and just in general, you know, really coming down on him. And I think they showed up in Homecoming as well, if I'm not mistaken. Not the same guy there that shows up in this, but I think their group did. They talked to Vulture at one point. Um, so they are them and the clandestine. If you combine the two together, would be a great villain on there together. But separately, it's just like random government assholes, and then like mystical. Who the hell are they? Bad guys, and they like neither one is that big of a threat, you know. Um, so that was kind of odd and kind of like a nick against it, kind of. But I love the synergy in the show within modern day culture and past culture, not only ours, but like American, but also Muslim culture, Arabic culture, the way that certain things go socially there, the way that their history kind of shapes who they are. The whole thing about the partition stuff, where parts of the country are being separated and all that, was really cool to see. The backstory of everything, of how her grandma told her she was led back to her dad to, like, be her great grandfather, um, by a pathway of stars. Come to find out, she actually gets transported back to that time through the power of the bangle and helps her own grandma save her own life, and helps her great grandma. I meets Aisha, the one who had the bangle, gives it, make sure that she gives it to her daughter, who eventually gets it to um, Kamala, and to see that she like fulfilled that thing. It kind of reminded me of, if you guys ever watched Heroes, there's a part where Hiro Nakamura is like idolizing. He idolizes this like samurai guy, and within season 2, he gets teleported back to the time of that samurai and basically becomes him. Like there's another character they introduce, Adam Monroe or whatever, who is that character kinda, but really it's Hiro, and he kind of sort of becomes the legend that he already is a part of, or that he has enjoyed ever since he was a kid. So I think that's really cool. I think that's kind of a nice, not really connection, but just cool that they use that kind of an element with it. The powers are great. I love the effect of it, the like cosmicness to it, the crystalline nature to it is really cool. Her back and forth um, um, dialogue with her friends and her family and every character is really great. Kamran is okay as a character. I don't hate him, but I think he could have had a bit more time to shine. Again, he also has the thing they kind of repeat in the show where certain characters are introduced, and then there's a certain point in the show where they're just left behind and they move on to a different area, and then they come back and all of a sudden he's like, hey, I'm here. That kind of happens with Kamran a little bit. He decides that he doesn't agree with his family trying to like basically threaten Kamala into doing their dirty work and piercing the veil and all that, and so they basically leave him behind, and he's like left alone. And it's not until his mother dies and her power from her goes to him, and he gets sort of powers similar to Miss Marvel's, that he becomes a bigger part of the plot. The finale though was beautiful. Oh my god, the stakes were great, the action set pieces are great, the acting is amazing, the story that they set in there with still what's it called, damage control being a part of it. And I like that they put in the part that there's a female within damage control that's like basically trying to like step up and like one up everybody and not listen to commands and do her own thing. And that the one guy who we thought was kind of a dick from the start to both Peter and to Kamala, or just in general, is telling her like stop or you're fired, and she won't listen to him, and he does end up firing her. He follows through in his word, and he has them back off because he sees that she is a hero. He doesn't know damage control is supposed to like take on these like threats that they don't understand yet, understand who they are, what they're doing, and figure out if they're a real threat or if they're like her, where she's actually a hero, or what's going to happen. And I kind of liked that, having like a separate part within damage control that was still coming after Kamala, even though he said not to. Her battle with Kamran was really great, seeing her powers being more like crystalline and like smooth, where his were more spiky and looked similar to me to the Terrigenesis rocks and how they look in most of the shows and movies and comics and any media representation, I guess you could say. So that was really good. I like her like back and forth with him, where he's like, how could you let her die? She's like, I didn't. She sacrificed herself. Again, spoilers. Sacrificed herself to close the veil. You think that that place is your home, but you never were there ever. You were only ever here on Earth. And she said that this really was your home. That was her home, but it was never yours. You were only doing that because the show deals with a lot of like family like responsibility, and like, is it your responsibility to carry on the legacy, or can you break free from that tradition and kind of do things a little different and still have the love and respect of your family? So he kind of realizes that, and throughout like the fight, there's little moments where he accidentally hurts people, and he kind of like for a second you can see where he's like, I don't know if I should have done that type of thing. But what I really loved, so she does all that, she beats him, he runs away, and she helps him escape and whatever, and her friend from the Red Daggers or whatever, this other splinter group that's helping her and against the clandestine, help get him out or whatever. And the stingers at the end of the show were so great, because at the very, very end of it, she's talking to Bruno and her one friend, and he says, hey, I want to tell you something. I was looking back I took up a blood sample, and I was looking at your genetics to see if there's anything that, like, maybe it's in your, like, lineage, like maybe your brother has powers, or your mom and dad, or whatever. Nothing about them, only you. And he's like, it's odd, it's only you, and you have something specific in yours that's different. It's like a mutation. And he says it's like a mutation, and you hear very faintly in the background, da-na-na-na-na-na. And she goes, oh, whatever. And she starts crying at first, gets upset, and she's like, oh, whatever, it's just another label to put on me. Not knowing that mutants are going to be a thing. So I really like that they, like, she's kind of like the first mutant, I guess you could say. And I think that's really cool. It's like, did the bracelet do that to her? And, how's that classification going to, like, mess with and do things with the Marvel Universe going forward? And of course, the very last piece where the Bengal, like, starts going crazy, and all of a sudden she swaps places with actual Carol Danvers, and she's in wherever Carol Danvers was, and Carol Danvers is in her room, and it's like, uh-oh, and then it just ends. So overall, I like the show. It's got a lot of heart. It's got some great dialogue. The story is pretty decent. Villains are a little more on the weak side, but I don't hate them. I just think that there are elements of both combined together would have been a decent villain, but separated out weren't um, quite what I was expecting or wanting, I guess I could say. And I also think that, and a lot of people have said this, I think the 6 episode structure is starting to hurt these Disney Plus shows because it's not quite enough time to truly get into these characters' heads and understand who they are and be able to like develop villains that are worthwhile as well. I mean, hell, some of the Marvel movies aren't long enough to do all that. So definitely only 6 episodes, which, yeah, oh, well, that's like 3 hours, so how come? Well, still, they have to like spread things out and separate things out and stuff. I mean, she gets her suit in the final episode from her mom. So, like I said, overall, a pretty decent series and got a lot of heart and charm, and I really liked it. Score-wise, probably somewhere in the range of like 9-ish out of 10, maybe. Probably would give it a half a point or more, closer to a perfect score if the villains were a little stronger, but it's not a bad show on its own. I love the visuals of it. I love the camera angles and things that they use, how they use social media, how they use being a teenager in general was great. The Muslim culture pieces were great and integral to her character, Partition, all that stuff. The super heroics are great. It's just really the villains that are kind of in my opinion. But her powers are badass. I'm excited to see her return in other projects. So that'd be my score for that. So let me know in the comments below. What did you guys think of Miss Marvel? Did you love it? Hate it? In the middle? I don't know what that hand movement was. Am I trying to hench What the fuck? And let me know what you guys think. Again, thank you so much for watching, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. But until next time, stay hooked on Henshins. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.